So we learned today about two different topics, elimination and substitution. The idea of elimination is that we eliminate a variable. So if you look at this situation, this system of equations I've given you, you have 3x plus y equals 12 and negative 3x plus 3y equals 8. If we were to combine these two equations into one, then what would happen is my positive 3x and my negative 3x would cancel. And then I could combine my y's. Well, remember this is a 1y plus 3y is 4y. And I could combine 12 and 8 and that would give me 20. Well, now it's really easy to solve for y because all I have to do to solve for y is divide both sides by 4. And I now know that y equals 5. And if I'm looking for the solution to my system, that's half my answer. Half of it is 5. So I've found y. I just need to find x. So my steps. First, I eliminated x or y. In this particular case, I eliminated x. If we keep reading, it explains why. You eliminate whichever has opposite coefficients, which means the same number but different signs. So notice I had a positive 3x and a negative 3x. So these are the same coefficient, or they were opposite coefficients because they were the same number but different signs. So step 2 tells me to plug in the variable that has been found and solve for the other. So we've found y, which means that we're going to take 5 and we're going to replace y, one of these y's, with 5 and solve. So I think the first equation is going to be a little easier because the coefficient of y is 1. So I'm going to rewrite the first equation, which was 3x plus y equals 12. But we learned that y was really 5. So that equals 12. Well, now I can solve. So I'm going to draw my line. I want to get x by itself, so I'm going to minus 5 from both sides. So I have 3x equals 7. And then my final step is going to be to divide both sides by 3. So I'm going to divide by 3, I'm going to divide by 3, and I get x equals 7 over 3. So that is the other half of my answer. So 7/3 and 5 are my answers. The second method we learned about was the method of substitution, which is where we are substituting in one thing for something else. So notice this first equation tells us that x equals 3y, and then it tells us negative x plus 2y equals 5. Well, this x in this second equation is the same as the x in the first equation, which means I can rewrite the second equation with a 3y instead of x. So I now have negative 3y plus 2y equals 5. The reason I can do that is I can substitute because this x and 3y are equal, which means this x and 3y must also be equal. So now I can work out the second problem and make it a little better. So a negative 3y plus 2y is going to be a negative 1y equals 5. And then to get y completely by itself, I'm going to divide both sides by negative 1. So I end up with y equals negative 5. So my solution, well, half of my solution is negative 5. That's my y value. Now that I know what y is, I can easily figure out what x is because recall that x equaled 3y, or 3 times y, 3 multiplied by y. And we've already figured out that y is really negative 5. So this means that x is really equal to 3 multiplied by negative 5, or 3 times negative 5. And 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. So my x value is negative 15. And there's my answer.